you know, the female condition, the patriarchal bullying that went on there, all of those sorts of things, and then suddenly they all live happily ever after. That was just too much fairy tale for me at the end of the book, which actually that's when he lost me as a reader. I mean, you know, everything in me when I read a book is looking for a really good, strong denouement. And, you know, if I don't have it, I feel uncomfortable at the end. But having said that, for this kind of book and the material that it covered, you know, it was just a little bit too happy ever after for me at the end. So, you know, that's a part for me personally in my reading. So you need to think about, for you, when you were reading it, did you come across parts and you think, it wouldn't have been anything like that, or that feels inauthentic to me? So think about authenticity, because if it doesn't sit right with you, it might be something that takes away the level of authenticity about it. Okay, so turning that page. Discerning application of chosen theoretical approach. Okay. However, okay, hang on. Genet employs close-up shots when the lovers are reunited, emphasising Mathilde's dramatic reaction of ecstasy. However, I established a divergent reading. Okay, underline that sentence. I established a divergent reading. So the writer was on one path of reading, so the author's intent is this, and I believe this, and I'm wholeheartedly on this. But I'm reading this and I'm thinking, actually, I know better than that. My life experience tells me something else. So actually, I'm going on a different reading path now. Because you need to remember that all of these different ways of reading something are not isolated. They all intermingle and all intertwine. So there's always overlaps. It's you're not going to pick up one book and go, yep, that is definitely author-centered, that book, but this book over here, reader-centered. It doesn't work like that. You can look at it all in the same context, depending on how you wish to approach it. Okay, so I established a divergent reading. So just think about the language of that and how you're reading. Remember, you're reading author and you're reading the reader way. Instead of sharing Mathilde's joy, I felt disgusted, having been conditioned to reject fairy tale endings. Okay, so that's almost like what I felt about Typewriter, if you like. I found the ending trite. I identified negative parallels between the film and trashy American romances. So, I mean, that's kind of what I've said about Typewriter. Okay, so the next paragraph. Discerning understanding of the complexities of a self-selected film, blah, blah, blah. Although I could perceive their relationship was can't read that word, counterpoint, thank you, to the brutality of war, I favoured a feminist interpretation. See, now there's a tick there, so that's sort of like, oh, we've lent into something else around the readings and the way we view something. Mathilde and Menek's relationship transcended barriers of war and disability. However, rather than seeing this as strong dedication, I saw Mathilde's dependence as a sign of weakness. So there's the development of the feminism idea. She is miserable, noting that without him, I'm going further down the paragraph, she is incomplete. Here I noticed that Mathilde was defined by her relationship with a man. So that's the whole feminism thing. I'm sure I've mentioned that before to you. Okay, so next page. Discerning understanding and insightful interpretation. I viewed the soldiers as innocent victims of the machinations of war. I was emotionally involved in the film, sharing the soldiers' despair. Okay, so think about the bullies that stood alongside of Asif. I mean, were they weak? Yes, of course they were weak. But when Asif became quite high up with the Taliban, he still had his minions around him who were doing unspeakable things in the name of Allah and their religion. And so think about those other characters. Think about Hassan's mother and the more silent characters in regard to that, and the job that they've done and how you viewed them. So think about all of these elements, because that's what you want to write about in your writing. How am I doing for time?
2 minutes.
4:28.
Oh wow, okay. Right, so as what I've just been doing, I've modelled for you what I would be doing. Okay, so you need to start writing your piece, and by doing that, what you're going to be doing is you're writing about your reading experience. I want you to write about how you felt about the style of writing, the characters, the silent characters, the political aspect of it, the religious aspect of it. I want you to write about those things, and like give them a paragraph each, as many things as you can think of, and have the book with you. Okay, so I just want to end with reading if we just look at the very, very beginning, chapter 1. Okay, I became what I am today at the age of 12 on a frigid, overcast day in the winter of 1975. I remember the precise moment, crouching behind a crumbling mud wall, peeking into the alley near the frozen creek. That was a long time ago. But it's wrong what they say about the past. I've learned about how you can bury it, because the past claws its way out. Looking back now, I realise I've been peeking into that deserted alley for the last 26 years. Okay, so who is the I? The very first word in this book is I. I became. It's a Mia, or is it a Mia? Is it, so this is our narrator, but is it also our author? So we kind of see an overlap there. So looking as a reading from an author view, I'm looking at, it's almost like I feel a conversation beginning with the author, and I'm starting to feel connected to the author. I'm totally detached from the author doesn't know me, but I'm starting to build a relationship with him because I feel like the author's talking to me, because he's using the term I. I became what I am today at the age of 12. So I'm wondering if there's a little bit of an overlap with our protagonist, the narrator, the author. I'm not sure, but the conversational tone of this and the use of the word I makes me feel like it's the author almost. I'm feeling a link there. And it says here, where is it? It's wrong what they say about the past. Who are they? Who is the narrator referring to? They. Okay, so they could actually signify people in the author's life, people who formed opinions about stuff, or it could be to do with the protagonist. But it feels conversational. It almost feels quite personal, and I'm starting to, right from the get-go, build a relationship with the author in my mind. So if you're coming with an author view, that's an element that you'd look at. Okay, so that first chapter is quite a short one, but it's a really good grip on the story and the tone.
So, just sorry, I have a few questions.
Okay, ask away.
So, as for the article, or if we should call it that, or
yeah, no, it's an article.
Yeah, the article at the beginning, right? So essentially, it's a review with our feelings of the book, and what. Am I right in saying that we should mention our opinion on it?
It's all about.
So that whoever sends the hate mail can react to that.
Okay, don't worry about the reaction and the defense at this point. Okay, what you need to do, okay, is, because you've already read through this, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay, look at how they've tackled this.
Yeah.
Right, and the type of tone, like you said, it's quite an informal tone, isn't it? Because it's very personal. This is how you read it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in this paragraph, what aspect of the text are they talking about? Are they talking about the character, the protagonist? Are they talking about the politics? What are they talking about? So if that's what they're doing in that paragraph, apply that and start talking about the politics and the kite runner.
Yeah.
And your view of that when you were reading it.
Yeah. Okay. It's just the thing I'm a bit confused about is that I might, in my article, I might state something about it, but then put all the evidence into my article and then have no evidence or backing up to do in my defense essay.
But your article isn't defending it.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
I mean, when
Alright.
you're writing it, this is all your opinion. You're just stating it
So
as
it's
you read
just a
it,
statement.
and it can't be wrong, because
Okay.
your view of it is your view of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so follow it along
Yeah.
and take it, chunk it. So just start with this paragraph, read this paragraph, and think about, okay, they're talking about the storyline here of the film. What did you think of the storyline, The Kite Runner? How believable was it? Did you think that there was faults with it? Write about it. And then, because then what you're going to do, once you've done that, you're then going to go back and go, now how can I look at that from a reader perspective? Now if I rewrite that sentence and add this in there and show that this was actually a reader perspective, verging on an author perspective, that's how you're going to build the layers into your article.
Okay. All right.
But you have to start with your opinion of the book. So as all you're going to do is you're going to begin by writing down your thoughts, feelings and opinions of the book.
Mhm.
Because if you don't own it and it's not yours, it will be very hard to write about thoroughly and then defend.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes more sense. Just another question I had. It's on the actual assessment
Okay.
itself. Oh yeah. This whole author-centered, reader-centered thing. A bit confused on what that actually means.
Okay, so that's why
Yeah.
I've given you that printout earlier on.
Oh yeah.
So it's because it's actually put it into a nutshell for you. So if you look at the literary theory thing, right? If you turn that page, and it comes to meaning lies with the author, and then in 3 bullet points it tells you what the theory means, and then there's a few bullet points that tells you what the issue is with that theory. Okay, so that's literally just that, and then if you come down here it tells you about the reader theory.
Okay.
Okay, so that's summing up for you with bullet points what that actual theory is talking about. Then what you would do is you would go back to your reading and you'd look for quotes. But that's not until you've done your writing, okay? Because right now we need to get your opinion while the book's still fresh in your mind. We need your thoughts and opinions about the book. Because that's the material you're going to work with. Don't panic about the other stuff. Okay, what you're looking at here, this whole thing, is a big elephant. And you don't know it all yet. And it's not something that you can go away and go, right, I'm just going to learn this formula and now I can apply it to this. It's not like that. This is the sort of thing that's going to be built on layer by layer, draft by draft. Okay?
All right.
So we're going to take small steps, otherwise it will be overwhelming and it will be unmanageable.
When is this actually due? So end of the last week?
What's the date? 24th of March.
Yeah, that's like last week.
Yeah.
Also, do we just do reader-centered or author-centered, or do we do both?
The task requires you to do, it says reader and, it says reader-centered or author-centered. But if you touch on one or the other as you go, that can only be a good thing. It's like, you know, they were talking about feminism and stuff. If you're drawing in other stuff, all that shows a real deep understanding and knowledge of other things.
Yeah.
And not only that, because you'll notice in that printout I gave you, like I said, there's overlaps.
Yeah.
So sometimes they do marry up. So don't be too caught up in that. And actually, the reader-centered view is whatever you write down is reader-centered, because all you're writing is your opinion.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is going to be reader-centered to start with, and then you're going to start building in some other stuff, and then we'll start, you know, fattening it out. In the meantime, with readings, if you find quotes, like highlight them. Okay, so like I said, there was an awful lot of reading to do in the last couple of weeks, and it doesn't look like anybody's really done all of them. So, because the next part on Moodle talks about the cultural, social aspect, what makes interpretation acceptable. I'm really concerned that if I keep loading you up with more and more readings, and you're not able to keep up with the stuff that we've already been doing, it's just going to become too much for you. So do you, my feel is to really get you to just, for this week, write down an article of your opinion of the book and all the aspects of the book. I want to know what you think of it politically, religiously, emotionally, the females, the characters, like I said, the silent characters, the way he's written it, anything that you can think about, any aspect, and be guided by this example. Let this example be your guide, okay? And that's what I'd really like you to do this week, because then you've got material that we can work with then and start adding
just
stuff.
do like a paragraph of each thing?
Yeah, just because it just makes it more
Do
manageable.
we have to do the whole like handwritten draft and then type it up?
Oh,
Or
yeah,
can we-
that'd be bad.
Can we type it up straight away?
Yeah, no, I think probably better to just go with the whole typing thing straight off the bat. I think this is a bit of a different animal. And not only that, to be able to actually write it by hand under teacher supervision is not realistic either.
Yeah.
So I think just get straight into typing it up. I'm just trying to think. So, like, other than this, which I really want you to read, so this literary theory worksheet thing that I've printed out for you, read this, okay? Because that's giving you that information in a nutshell for you, so you can really understand it. And then write all your opinion stuff, your article, and then next week we'll have a look at how we're going to attach our reading theories to it. Okay, do you feel comfortable that you can do that by next week? Yeah. Don't worry about your word count. Don't worry about the structure. Don't worry about any of that.
Yeah, as for word count, how is that? What's the deal with word count this time? Like,
Okay, well,
yeah.
the word count here says 1,000 to 1,500 words, but that's both pieces of writing, and the bulk of it is going to be in the defence. But you know what? Through the drafting process, ultimately it's going to be culled and it's going to be added to. So don't let that be in your head.
Yeah, because like, I mean, I'm just worried if I go over that, I'm like, is that the case? Will I lose marks? Or?
Don't worry about word
Alright,
count.
good.
Because like,
Okay.
I can sit there with you and I can cull stuff out of it that
Yeah.
doesn't need to be in there and make it, you know, and work with you to make it, you know, the right. So don't even worry about it. What we're looking at the moment is we need the raw material to work with.
Yeah.
And that is what you think of the book.
Fantastic.
All right.
Okay.
So is that manageable for everyone? So by next week when you come, everybody's going to have their written article stuff up, and you will have read this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we happy? Any more questions?
Thanks, Miss.
Nobody feeling